Do you feel that sometimes stepping up makes you feel anxious? For some, the anxiety could be a little bun. It's like a little feeling of nervousness. Others can prevent you from doing what you have to do. Stay with me. I'll give you a few secrets on how to beat anxiety. The idea of this video came about the fact that I have this channel of mine that I love very much, and I had not produced some content for several months. And one of the reasons is I felt anxious of starting. And in the last few days, I decided, okay, what's the best way for me to beat the anxiety of not doing what I have to do? Was to step up one little step at a time. And stay with me. I'll share with you stories that outline how I was able to beat this feeling of anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling, it's an emotion. And when you stay in the anxiety mode, you end up staying in anxiety mode. So, Tony Robbins mentioned that if you want to beat negative emotion, often the best way is to get into motion. So you step up and you do one little step, and that little step leads to another step. And as you start moving, motion gets into play, and the feelings of anxiety subsides. Not always 100%, but the more you're in motion to achieve your goals, the more these feelings of anxiety decreases, and that is important. When we think about anxiety, we often feel that, I don't feel like doing anything. That little voice inside of you that says, well, I'm afraid of going towards what I want to do. I'm a bit afraid of doing what I have to do. And what is interesting, and I like to put it into a graph mode, and I'll show you. So here is a little graph to explain how I see anxiety often. When something comes up, I feel anxious. The amount of energy in my anxiety is very high. And what happens is, if it's an event or something that happens that I've gone through before, quickly my anxiety goes down, and then I feel fulfilled with the event that is happening. However, when I do something that I've never done before, what happens is my anxiety stays very high, and it takes a lot of time for me to feel comfortable, for the anxiety to go down, and to start feeling good about something. And what happens is, the more you do something, the more you feel fulfilled, the more that little voice that is anxiety decreases. And it gets to a point where, if you think of this, sometimes you have a lot of anxiety and little fulfillment. But if it's something that you love and you believe that's something you want to do, what happens is you end up with a lot more fulfillment than anxiety. And then as you go along, you'll notice that the fulfillment is there and anxiety is decreasing. Now, keep in mind that this feeling never goes away, and I feel that it is important. Sometimes when I go to a class in September, I meet a whole new group, I feel a little anxiety the night before, the day before, but as soon as I get in front of them, I feel much better. Now, the anxiety is always there, and I find it's important for me because I see it as positive energy. That's what makes me feel that I want to be the best I can be. When I give lessons, this is that little voice that says, okay, I want to give as much as I can so that my students feel that I'm there for them. And that's when I say that anxiety is part of life, but the more you do things, the more you step up to go towards your dream, you'll notice that you will beat in long-term anxiety. I'm not saying that the feelings will go away forever. It's good to have, sometimes people say, they call it butterflies. You have to give a speech, you have those butterflies inside yourself. Well, it is a bit of anxiety, but it is that little feeling that's, okay, I'm excited, and that's what it shows the world, that you care. And that's when I say, I don't want to say that anxiety is all negative. It just shows that you care. But you need to notice that you need to step up to show others and help others so that at the end of the day, everybody gets better. I will give another example. I have people that have gone to test. One was a test to become an engineer, certified engineer. Another person was driver's license test. And what happened is they were so stressed out because they felt very anxious about doing the evaluation. And it's important to realize that when you're put in front of a situation, you want to do the best you can. And sometimes you may not feel that you know everything you should know. But keep in mind that if you are doing an evaluation and you're in the right path, you are doing the right career, you have done what you're supposed to do, an evaluation is just a formality. It's a formality because if I give a science test, it is a test on concepts and conversations we've had in class. If you are doing a driver's test, it's easy. You went to a course, you did some reading. The test is just to confirm that once you have your driver's license, you'll be a good driver to keep everybody safe. If you are for the exam for engineers or an exam for the bar, if you want to become a lawyer, that's the same thing. There's a lot to remember. But these evaluations are important because it confirms that you know what you're supposed to know. So anxiety is part of the process, but it shows that you care. Caring is very important. You need to acknowledge that you care about the situation. And once you realize that your feeling of anxiety is from the fact that you care very much about the outcome, about the others, because you want to serve others, you want to help others, you notice that these feelings will decrease. And let's see if I can share with you a few tips on how to get better at that. So here are a few tips for you. My first one, and I've used that tip in all of my call to action so far on this channel, is to use a journal. A personal journal is a great place for you to write down your feelings, to write down what you are going through, to outline your dreams, to outline what you want to do. And putting your feelings into words is a great way, because it comes from your ideas, from your head, and by writing them, it's taking action, acknowledging your feelings. Now, from there, what you need to do is realizing that you are going from your thoughts to an action, the action of writing in your journal. And that's important because your emotion now is transferred to emotion. And if you keep in mind that you are growing and learning from what you're going through, you realize that by putting your feelings into words, it will allow you to better understand who you are. I do it very often. And how do I translate that? Well, I've showed that before. I have a little book here called Be Brilliant. And it is a book where I put my ideas about what I noticed around me, the feelings that I have towards what I have to do, my dreams, and I put them into video. And that's one way for me to take my ideas from up here, write them down, and then be creating something. And hopefully, and I know it will, help you in many ways. The second tip is, every time you go into your journal, I want you to outline one thing that you need to do towards your dream, towards you becoming better. How do we do that? Every time we write something in our journal, we always have those things like, I wish I could, or I wish I had. Well, look at that and use that as a way to say, okay, let's take a moment and act on that. Even if it's a little, tiny little step, it's one step closer to achieving something. And that is my second portion. The other thing that the third tip I have is the 5-second rule. I have a video and I'm going to post a link here. And it is about the fact that when I have to do something, and usually I count from 5 to 0. So I go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then I act on my thoughts. I often use it in the morning, you know, when you're in bed and you feel like you don't want to do anything, you don't want to get up. And then I say, well, I have to go and do something. And then I say 5. And when I say 5, it's my clue saying, okay, bud, you've got 4 seconds left before you're getting up. I do the same thing sometimes when I have, I feel that I have, I have to do dishes. And because you know that I don't like to wash dishes, and I think about dishes, then I say 5, because then I know that I will say 4, 3, 2, and 1, and do the action. The 5-second rule that Mel Robbins has written a book about is quite powerful for me, and I'm sure can be powerful to you. Therefore, that if you've been enjoying and seeing the value in what I've shared with you today, don't forget you can subscribe to this channel, and you can also click on the bell to see when other videos are coming, because you'll see that together we'll grow and do great things. On that note, we'll have a call to action today, and I want you to take your journal, because we'll have a few questions for you to write down. So take a moment, get your journal, and come back here. If you are on the couch somewhere at the table, I want you to take a moment, 3 minutes, to write down what your thoughts are. What are the things that you're thinking, the dreams you want to do, something you wish you'd do today, a dream for next year, so that you can put in writing where you want to go. So that is the first thing. Take a moment. So what would you like to do or have done by the end of today? And we all have these ideas of things we have to do. That's good. The next one is I want you to take a pen of a different colors, or put a star beside 1 or 2 things that could be done in 2 minutes. So for example, for me, it is to write, to create content for my channel. And yesterday I had 2 minutes and I put together an idea for a video. So I always have a list of things I'd like to do video on. And I had 2 minutes, so I quickly did the outline of this video. The third thing you're going to do today is I want you to use the 5-second rules at least once before the end of today. So I want you to look at something you have to do and quickly say, okay, before the end of the day, I'm going to use the 5-second rule to do something that I have to do. So by the time I go to bed today, it will be done and you'll feel very, very good about yourself. And that will be one step closer to beating anxiety. On this, I will have a quick bonus section in a moment about one of my tricks to beat anxiety. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Go and see the video up here on the 5-second rule, and I'll see you in the next video. A moment, and I'll share with you one of my key aspects to get out and beat anxiety. Be back with you in a second. If you're still watching, that means that you want to know what my trick is. And in the video, I talk about this fluffy here. One of my tricks is when I feel anxiety, I look at clouds. And that is the reason why I put these drawing here. When I see clouds, it reminds me of beautiful things and when I was a kid and having fun outside. And that's when this is one of those fluffy snowballs that we can use to throw inside a house and nothing breaks. And that's why I use this to show my point here. But it's not as much the clouds as the way they move. When I see a cloud and I look at it, it is a cloud. But when I stop walking or I lie down in the grass and I look at a cloud and I start to see it moving, then that brings me peace of mind. And the reason why it brings me peace of mind is a cloud is a cloud. It's in the atmosphere and it's following the wind to the next place. The cloud cannot beat the wind, cannot go faster than the wind, cannot slow down, and therefore it's a great way for me to say, okay, I have things to do, I need to step up, I feel anxiety, I sit down, I look up, I see clouds, and they move slowly. And that reminds me that if I do one little step at a time, I will get where I need to go. The same way, if you have a cloud, one little breeze, I don't know what the word is, but when the wind pushes you slowly, you'll get there. It's 1 centimeter at a time. When I work in a school that has 2 buildings, and I always ask to work on both campuses. And the reason for that is within the day, it allows me to go from one building to the other, and I walk outside. And if anything, sometimes I look down because I have to think about many things, and sometimes I just look up and look at the clouds and remind myself that everything will work out. If I do one thing at a time, one lesson at a time, one project at a time, one conversation at a time, everything is working out and building where I want to go. So on this, you can always take a fluff. You all have something at home that reminds yourself of peace of mind. Keep it handy. Keep it so that you can feel better, and when you have to, beat anxiety and step up. The reason I use the clouds is I see them all the time. I don't have to carry something in my bag. I just have to look up and see them. On this, I wish you a wonderful day. Go and see the 5-second rule video that I'm going to post again up here. And I will see you next time. Take care.